Good morning. It's I Wonder Wednesday. And first of all, sorry about not doing one of these I Wonders last week. It was just a crazy week, so didn't get around to it. But here we are again on another Wednesday. And today's question is kind of just a simple, sort of fun question that someone had asked. And it was, what does a typical day look like for you and Tim? And um, the honest answer is that it's surprisingly normal. Just there are things that we have to do differently, but it's really kind of just a normal day. So let's just talk about a typical weekday, typical work day, because those are pretty much our normal. So we usually get up, depending on the time that either or both of us need to work. And by the way, we both work from home. I've been teaching for a state university for 25 years. This is my 25th year. It breaks my brain almost to think about the fact that it's been that long because I'm only supposed to still be 20, right? But at any rate, I've been doing this for 25 years. And for the first about 10 to 11 years, I was on one of our campuses exclusively and did all of my classes in the classroom. Loved that experience. But then some things began to change when my father's health began to fail and I began transitioning my classes online. And of course, all this was long before I ever even knew that Tim existed. This was all happening long before then. So I transitioned to online teaching and I was fully online from about 2012, 2013 onward. For a little while, I did what was called hybrid, part on campus, part online, and eventually just did the full switch. And to be honest, I love the flexibility. I love the fact that it is something that accommodates my own medical needs as well. I can schedule appointments and still never miss communicating with my students. And that's what really matters. So, and Tim typically does contract work. When we first got married, he was working out of the home. And for a while, it seemed like that might be an okay situation for us. But the truth is, there were times that I needed things at the house that, nobody else was there to help with. So after one particular day, one particular issue that we faced, where, just to be honest, I've always said I want to be transparent in these videos. I really needed to use the bathroom. I needed to go. And I can't go without somebody helping. So at that point, I had to call him home from work. And by the time he was able to get the message, get home, and, help me to the bathroom, he was very upset. And I was, recovering from feeling better. It can take a lot out of you if you got to hold it for a long time, right? So, and that may not sound like a big deal, but it is. It can actually affect your health. So he was upset and he said, I really don't like having to leave you. And I think I'm going to start looking for some online work. We didn't know how that would work with both of us deciding to work from home. Would we be in each other's way? Would we get on each other's nerves? Some people had previously told us we needed to make sure that we spent several hours a day apart. And, we tried to we thought that was good advice, so we tried it and it just didn't work for us. It just was not the right solution. So we both started working from home and he started doing contract work for different customer service companies. And that's what he was doing. For a while, I did some of that too, just to bring in some extra income when we were facing a few, major expenses. But eventually I stopped doing that, but he has continued. And now he's been able to work for several different contracts for a variety of different companies. And that has been what we needed. And the situation works pretty well. So now that I've rambled on and on about our employment situation, you also know from probably previous videos, if you have watched any of those or followed us on Facebook, that we also now have a real estate business. And that is something that we can do together. We plan to continue to do that until the Lord says it's time to do something else. That's ultimately what it's like for us. When God says to do something different, we change. And if that is, 6 months, if it's a year, if it is 10 years, whatever, we plan to follow the Lord's direction, because ultimately that's what we're all here for, is to fulfill a purpose that He has for us. So back to the typical day. Sorry, I ramble. Hope you guys don't mind that I ramble sometimes. So back to the typical day. Depending on what time his hours begin, and my office hours begin. For the university, I have to have certain office hours throughout the day, throughout the week. I have to have a certain number, and that means that I have to be at my computer, ready, willing, and able to answer any student questions, just the same as if I was on campus. And for Tim, he has to actually clock in live on his contract positions. So we get to schedule our appointments around other things that are going on. Like if one of us needs to go to the doctor, or if we have something that we have to do, that has to do with any of the medical things or home health care visit or anything like that. We are so fortunate that we can schedule around. But let's talk about today. Pretty typical day. So we get up. My office hours today for the university are going to be from 11 to 1 on a regular basis. But today, this afternoon, I'm going to also have a department meeting. So I knew that at the very latest, I had to be at my computer ready before 11 a.m. And it's obviously before that. Maybe not by the time you see this video, but it's definitely before that. And Tim's scheduled shift with his current contract also starts at 11 o'clock today. And he goes until 2 o'clock, and then we'll take a lunch break. And then he goes back for some more time, and I'll have some more student work to do. And then after the university stuff is done for the day, then I'll be working on some real estate things that we have going on. So when we start to get up in the morning, obviously I can't do very much for myself at all physically. So he has to help me with my bath and help me to, use the bathroom for the day. Usually he will, at some point during that process, he goes and he has breakfast. And then he comes back and he finishes getting me up, because the process, there's certain times during which that I'll need a little bit of a break. And so that's a perfect opportunity for him to go out and get his breakfast. Plus, it's, he's one of those people that when he gets up, he's hungry when he first wakes up. And I'm not typically, so this works out well for us. So he goes, gets his breakfast, and then he comes back and he gets me up the rest of the way. Then we go into the kitchen and I have breakfast, and he does whatever he needs to do for prep work for the day. Sometimes we've pre-planned a meal that has to go in the crock pot. Sometimes he does schoolwork. He's still in school finishing up his bachelor's, so sometimes he'll read. It just depends on what needs to be done. And then we both head off to our respective offices in the house, and I get hooked up for the day, and he gets online for the day. And then after, like I said, we do our work, we will take a lunch break. We schedule our own lunch breaks, and then we will return to whatever it is that we have to do in the afternoon. Usually around, probably around 5, 6 is about the time that we start winding down our work day. And that can vary also. But at that point, if we didn't prep something crock-pot wise for supper, we will actually prep supper together most of the time. And when I say prep, it's usually me with the recipes and instructions, and then it's him with the muscles to put it all together. So we'll do that, and then we'll eat supper, and sometimes we just sit and talk. Sometimes we watch TV while we're eating. It just depends on kind of the day we've had and how we're feeling at the moment and what really needs to get done. So we watch TV, and then, kind of reset the house for the night, put away all the dishes and clean up after supper, and then shut the house down and head to bed. And my morning get-up routine takes about 2.5 hours. It's more in-depth than my evening routine, but it takes about an hour probably to, I joke and I say I feel like the bionic woman, because I have all these parts on my chair that have to, go on in the mornings and take off at night, and then, get settled into bed. And so then usually we'll just kind of lay there and rest. That's sort of our rest time in the evenings. I sit up all day in my wheelchair, and you would think, oh, she never gets tired because all she's doing is sitting there. But I sit in the same position all day, and that gets tiring. So it's nice to just lay in the bed, and we have automatic beds or, adjustable beds. So we'll just raise the head up and we'll lay there and just watch TV. And Tim, of course, is on his feet a lot of the day or at his desk a lot of the day. So it's a good relaxed time for him too. So we'll watch TV. And right now, we binge watch different shows. So right now it's Lois and Clark, The New Adventures of Superman, throwback to the 90s from when we were younger. And The Apprentice, because, it's a business show and we like it. And then we usually close things down with the middle just because it's lighthearted and kind of goofy. But that's a typical day as far as things that we do. And of course, we have devotional time where we read the Bible, always individually. Sometimes we'll read things together or discuss things. And again, it just depends on the day. But generally speaking, a typical day for us looks like a typical day for most people. You get up, you prep for the day, even though we have to do it a little bit differently. You have your work day, then you come home and chill. That's us too. So that's a typical day for me and Tim. And thanks for the question. And if you guys have other questions you want me to address in future videos, post them in the comments and we will get to those as soon as possible. And look forward to it. Hope you guys have a beautiful Wednesday. It's gorgeous here today. So get out there and enjoy it. Bye, y'all.